what we want to look at today is how we enable Industry 4.0. And I think joined by my good peers, we will hear a lot of good examples. So let's start. My presentation is structured on a brief introduction to 4.0, very brief. Then a bit about the barriers that we have experienced on achieving the Industry 4.0 and putting it in action. Then how we are designing our products so they can actually enable 4.0 achievements. And then additional things that could help you easier to take advantage of the 4.0 benefits and what it brings to us. Here I'm looking a lot back, probably a little before Industry 4.0 started. We're all the way back in the 1960s, and that tells a bit about when our journey with automation started in FLSmidth. It also tells about a history that starts with Industry 4.0 around the early 70s, and how, for example, process control system and other products we have developed has evolved during this period. It also tells a bit about that these products, or it's the question, these products, are they going away, or are they actually the products that enable Industry 4.0? And my comment here is that a lot of these products we have today will stay, and some will go away, but not that many. The second last part of this slide, I will say, is that linked to that, what I do in my role is I constantly evaluate together with my product management team which new services should we focus on, and which of the old products has to adapt to support new services better, so they actually enable the new services of Industry 4.0 in a way so they can reach the market at speed. And that's a bit about what I will be talking about in this next 20 minutes. We get a lot of inspiration from elsewhere. We can look at our industry, but we can also look to other industries to be inspired. What are they doing? Have they developed something that we can bring into cement to help you, cement producers, at speed to get value from things that have already established themselves, but might also be applicable in the cement industry? So that actually indicates that maybe it could reach the cement industry fast. And then can it? Because the fact is that I, in the previous slide, talked about Industry 3.0. And to be provocative, I would say a lot of you producers have not really fully explored the Industry 3.0 opportunity. And therefore, you may have a chasm to fully embed the Industry 4.0 at the speed that we would all like, because it's quite, how can I put it? It makes me exciting when I look at Industry 4.0. So anything we can do to speed it up is what I focus on. So here we have a picture of 3.0 and 4.0, and this period we are in where we are transforming from one to the other. In 4.0, we are adding a lot of computer power. We add a lot of storage so we can have much more data than we had in the past, and we thereby enable data analytics to a whole new level than we have done for a long time. And if we do it well, we would be able to increase our machinery equipment's performance, the uptime, but also how we do process optimization at a new leap to what we have done in the past. And I'm sure that my peers here today will also talk a lot about good examples of how they are already seeing results of that. When if I should split AI, at least seen from my point of view, in 3 buckets, then I would split it in, can we increase process optimization, improve it? Can we improve quality optimization, meaning that we make better cement, not just more cement for the same energy, but better cement? And the last thing, can we increase the uptime? And if I look at that, where we can do better condition-based monitoring or maintenance, because we actually know more about the machines through AI technologies, then we actually have three areas where we could do a lot for our industry. I would say of the 3, then condition-based monitoring is what I have seen reach the largest maturity level. And what do I mean by maturity level? The easiest way of moving a value experienced in one site to the next site, and the next site, and the next site. the level of productization that each of these areas has is, in my opinion, different. At least that's what we experience. And the condition-based monitoring is that what I see is the furthest ahead, and where we also in FLSmidth have the most traction and are selling the most services to our customers. On the other hand, another part of Industry 4.0 is connectivity, and connectivity gives us a possibility to make mobility, bringing all the information to the people wherever they are in the world, so they don't have to be on site to contribute with their knowledge to improve performance of individual sites around the world. Connectivity also links to getting data effectively from site into a cloud, where cloud computing and AI algorithms in the cloud can add value to these data. Then the AI itself that could be executed on site or in the cloud, and I spoke a bit to that. And then another thing we are looking into and seeing as a means of enabling Industry 4.0 is that we need to get more open standards into the OT world than we have today, where there is a lot of proprietary technology that actually limits communication. But all these technologies should lead to something. They should lead to value for us, for our industry. And basically, one of the things it would lead to, if we implement it right, is reduced environmental footprint. That can be achieved if we can increase the quality of the cement we produce, because then we can lower the clinker factor and thereby lower the impact on the environment. Yet again, if we can do that and also optimize the process while doing better quality cement, then we would achieve cost savings. Cost savings would also be achieved if we can get a higher uptime of our equipment. So that's basically what we are looking for. That's the value we are looking for, and why we are implementing these technologies on top of what we have. So what are then the barriers to get all value out of all that? That's what we are looking into, and we are also looking into how we can help you overcome the barriers. One of the barriers is lack of knowledge, maybe not at the people you see today, but on the sites. And we have learned that for a long time with existing optimization products. If our customers, the people on site, doesn't understand what they do, they will be tempted to stop their operation, and then they for sure don't add any value. So a part of adding technology is also adding education to the industry of using the technology and seeing the value of the technology. And if we don't get that, then we will not get the priority and the focus we need on site to actually make the innovations valuable to the producers. The other things, when I say immature technology, and I can be challenged on that, but my point is it mature enough that when we have seen result on one side, that we can at speed move it to another side? And I still think that some of these technologies are a little bit earlier than some of the technologies that we have used 50 years on advancing in the Industry 3.0 era, that where we can have a good learnings on how will we move a value from one side to another. We are still seeing exploration on how we do that. And I hope to see good examples of that today, but I still think it's early days. And when it's early days and we're using a lot of time on things, then the solution also has a price tag to it. So that could all be limiting factors. But the most important thing, I think, where we have a challenge, that is the last one, and that is the data quality we see on sites. And that links back to my comment: have we really implemented our 3.0 solutions to the full extent? Because if we had, I think we would generally have a better data foundation on site than what we see today, and what we are often in discussion with our customers about. How do you improve your data quality so you get ready to implement these new technologies at scale? So that is, for me, a chasm we have to overcome in parallel to maturing the technologies. What am I talking about? I'm talking about both for time series data that typically is in the ECS or in the process control system. Ours is called ECS Control Center, but nevertheless, that often to build proper algorithm, you need a data foundation for it. And often we see in the cooperation we have been part of with universities, with research projects, with customers, that 1 year of data with a decent resolution is often helping those algorithms to get some value. But the many customers would say, I don't have that in my control system. I have the period you're talking about in my historian, but not at that resolution. So basically, that limits to some extent what we can do. And if we come to quality data, then we see even more challenges on having a already digital locked data foundation where you can extract the data you need in order to get good progress with these new data-driven technologies. So the fuel for the data-driven technologies is something we still have to focus on getting right in many cement sites. So a reflective question to all of you listening today is, how is it on your side? How is it where you are working? Is there structure, digital structure, or is there chaos in the data? Because then we probably should focus here to enable that we can accelerate these technologies while they are proving results in other sites and need to be scaled to really make an impact for the industry. Now I'm jumping topic, but still a chasm, a hurdle we need to overcome as an industry. Basically, many of the providers of AI solution structures their algorithm in the cloud and their execution of algorithms in the cloud. So they bring data from site, train the algorithm, run the algorithm in the cloud, and based on the outcome of the algorithm, whether set points or predictions, they need to go back to site. That's at least what we are seeing and the desire from many AI startups. Yet the infrastructure on site is typically not organized in a cybersecure way where the IT departments, when they get involved, like that they opened for putting data out is maybe one thing, but then returning data to site through the same channel. And of course, there can be people that have the knowledge, but we see many constraints on speed of implementation when we actually need to bring the data back to site. I think that is a general topic also to consider in parallel to the new technologies. Get your site installation right so they are ready for the new technologies. Then a last thing I want to mention here is the lack of standards. If we look in the information technology world, the IT world, we have a lot of open standards. If we look in the operations technology world, like the digital foundation we have on most cement sites in the production area, then we are looking at a lot of proprietary technologies, which again might not be known to our IT colleague, which also limits speed of understanding each other, but also limits innovation. When we look at our mobile phone and consider how fast innovation have been in the last couple of years or decade, it's about that it's an open standard that many uses. Compared to that, how many users do you have of the different PLC brands? It's very limited in comparison, and that drives or that limits speed of innovation. So we need to drive open standards also into the operation technology space. That is also something that I believe is important to materialize the new technologies at speed in our industry. So let's see, that was a lot of hurdles. Let's look at what the roadmaps brings here. So basically, this is how the portfolio of automation in cement, FLSmidth Cement, is structured. We have a process control system, we have a automated lab system, we have gas analysis, and then we build optimization solutions on top of that. We build them so they can plug into each other and complement each other, and we are transforming them into services so you can buy them or you can use them on subscription. For process control, I will go on, and for sampling, I will show a slide later. But for gas, I will just make a short mention. Gas is equally important than the other two, or is a very important area as it gives data like oxygen levels, etc., to the optimization solution. And even if you were looking at soft sensor for oxygen prediction, then your input for doing the sensor would still be a physical instrument for a while to come, and also for verifying the results of your analytic prediction. If I look at process control, it is the biggest source of data we have for using the new technologies. So I see process control system as a huge contributor to enabling Industry 4.0. But I also see QCX or quality system, because without quality data, there's no means to make algorithms that provide green cement quality, where we can lower the clinker factor, where we are in control of what is happening in our SMCs, like calcined clay, as mentioned by Thomas for a coming webinar. So if we are not in control of what happens in the different materials chemically, then our ability to mix them will not be there. And here we see that many sites doesn't have the sampling and the analysis in place to do that at full efficiency. Probably they need to expand with XRD into their labs to have more analysis done that can be embedded and used by optimization algorithms in the quality space. So coming back here to a picture you've seen before, but linking it directly to a product from FLSmidth. What I'm talking about is for mobility, I was too fast. One thing I want to say is if you have that control system from the last 10 years from FLSmidth, you already have a 1 year data of 1 second resolution when it comes to time series. So that is one enabler that you might not be aware of, but that is a fact. The second enabler that is coming now is the ability to distribute without fully integrated data across the world for every data point you have in your control system. At the moment through a mobile app, but the next step will be that you see that technology used to make remote control rooms. So actually you get that ECS becomes a hybrid system where something takes part on site, other parts takes part in cloud, and means data can be accessed from everywhere if you have the right user authentication to be allowed to log in. Connectivity, we have built MQTT directly into our control system, meaning that together with a cement producer that had a need, we have developed the algorithm so we can provide data directly into a customer cloud that could be the basis for their future analytic platform. For AI, we can execute AI scripts directly on the platform, or we can connect to an endpoint in the cloud and bring back predictions directly into the control of the plant. And then for open standards, we are working together with Open Process Automation Group and Universal Automation on pushing open standards into the cement industry. So for quality data, I would just say that where is your data? Do you have manual labs? Do you have automatic lab? Do you have a combination of the two? Do you make sure that your data is structured in a database with all the metadata that is needed for a sample to know what is happening in the process? When was the sample taken? What was the outcome of the sample? For both your automated analysis and for your manual analysis. And if not, then we have at least a white paper you can look into and get inspired what might be the needs you have in order to really have a data foundation from a quality perspective to source algorithms in that space. Also, XRD will be a topic that we are exploiting ourselves. How can we add optimization based on the XRD analysis? When you have the data in your database, what do you use it for and how do you optimize? Let me look at time. Yes, there's a bit more minutes. Then I want to embed information about our APC solution that is called Process Expert. And I will focus only on one of the areas that was launched with our 9th major version of the product. And that is a new controller type that is added inside the toolbox of ECS. It's a toolbox that it's a controller type that focus on adapting to the dynamics that happens in the plant, so it can dynamically adapt to varying conditions. So we ensure long-term stability of your process. We have also embedded it or have a controller that can be implemented in a way so we ensure more consistent implementation from site to site and in a reduced time span compared to what it was earlier, where we used typically MPC as the main controller type in our solution. Here we look to other industries and we found that actually there is such a controller type produced and used in other industry. It's a patented technology, but we made a cooperation to embed that technology into our PXP toolbox. So instead of developing from scratch, we took advantage that there are technologies out there from other industries that we can get inspired from and can use in our industry. But let's get to the most interesting part is what is the value for the end customer if they embed that technology, that controller type in the solutions at their site. And basically from our previous version that was MPC based, you see increased numbers across the board in the performance it gives. But the most important thing links to what I talked about before, user acceptance of what the tool is doing for you, which equals to that you get a high uptime, a high runtime, a high run factor, high utilization. It has many names, but that it is actually in operation. And we have seen for all our installations that we have done and that has been operating the last half year that they have a higher utilization than we typically saw previously. On open automation, we are, as said, active in 2 forums that are driving open standards into the OT space of industry. I would look at this one. We are actually discussing here outside the cement world because we don't see so much traction into the cement world yet to get traction, but we are looking for early adapters in the cement industry to work with us on testing this out, bringing it to the cement industry. And if there's anyone here having that interest, please reach out to us. We believe that this will ultimately, as it's done in the IT world, lead to lower prices and more flexibility, and as well higher cybersecurity if we bring ourselves from the proprietary setups to these open standard setups. Then I don't want to go in detail. I just want to say for each of our products, we of course have a roadmap. We have a plan. Where should the product go in the coming period? And hence you can get an idea what we are seeing in front of us, what we are pushing ahead. That is valid for Process Expert, but it's equally valid for our control center, our mixed control system, where we make sure that we have the perfect blend into the raw mill or in the cement mill. And here, as you can see, we are working on XRD to bring more value out of XRD into our optimization. And last but not least, we are working a lot on structuring data in our databases, including adding manual lab data into our database so it gets easier to add manual results into our shared database and foundation for empowering tools or algorithms that does quality predictions. So I think I am pushed on time, but I just want to say, maybe if you want to see innovation at speed, buying the software and owning it for many years is not the right thing. Maybe it's more right to have a service with the software where you make sure that you are continuously updated, take advantage of the latest innovation as it comes. As you could see at the roadmap, there will be innovations coming to market each year. Do you want wait 5 years until you get access to those innovations? Or would you rather go into another agreement model where it's more sold as a service, where you are continuously kept updated and take advantage? And even if you go to the pure subscription model, have a lower entry fee and also with the chance of stepping out at a moment in time without feeling that you have invested a lot of money that you are not getting the full value out of. So we believe in our product, so we are not afraid of going to subscription with a lower entry fee, enabling you to get benefits from the start and as long as you can see that there is benefits. We have a plan line to support our products. So as soon as you buy on a continuous and a model where you're continuously updated, you will be covered by our plan line concept in the lifecycle module. But are you buying one of our optimization services, then we would typically also add a proactive module where we are keeping track that you're getting enough out of your optimization, and we are in dialogue with you on what could you do to get more value out of the tool you have bought, installed, have a subscription on. So I think that these two goes hand in hand, continuously updating the software and having a combined responsibility of making sure that we get enough out of the installed service. So I will end myself here with the last slide saying, if any of this has resonated with you and you have begins to reflect, do we really have the right setup to enable that we can go into Industry 4.0 at speed? And if you reflect, I need a little bit help here, I need to go deeper than what you told Anders today, then we are there, and we have different types of supporting you in making a status of what your plant is capable of right now to empower Industry 4.0, but also to make a plan. What are you missing, and what would the best options be for you to get there, where you can enable that at full power for your plant, your operation, your corporate